So I have even more evidence about how America is in the book of Revelations, and the letter to the church of Philadelphia in Revelations is absolutely 100% talking to America, which is why there's been so many people that don't recognize Jesus, like they recognize the Torah and that those end time prophecy people. And you have to look at it from the fact that the very last thing that people that are up to no good would want to do is let America know that her place in prophecy is huge, like just absolutely huge. And so Americans, you need to realize how important this is. You do. And I don't mean so important, like don't get off into the ego with it, because, we know what happened with people in the Bible, that the ego goes to the head. No, but you need to, like you maybe want to start praying a little bit more if you don't pray, because God sees your country, which is why he's protected us so much. It all makes sense. William Penn, who named Philadelphia in America here, which was the birthplace of America, that's what Philadelphia was, he literally took it from that church that was in Asia Minor in Turkey. He took it on as an heir. And so it's definitely talking about Philadelphia, America. Because this is why people have wanted to trip you up and to keep taking you back to the book of Daniel, because then everybody's paying attention to the beast and all this other stuff, and you're not paying attention to the letters, most especially the letter to Philadelphia, because God is going to protect you during the trial. And it's not going to be a long trial, but the whole world will come under a trial. Other Christians in the world that don't live in America, they're part of America, though. They fall under it, because America, it's not a church in Philadelphia. It's the Church of Christ. Because again, there's like here, for instance, in Israel, worldwide, the amount of Jews that do recognize Jesus as the Messiah is now at 1 million. But in Israel, it's only like 1.5%. And then the ones in Gaza, or like the Arab Christians, that's 2%. America has been 80%, like way off the map, and has maintained. So do you see why there's so many people that have wanted to convince Americans that no, we weren't founded on Christian values? That's literally how the wicked one does it, because if he can get that history changed, then you lose your crown, because God's crowned America, which is why he's protected us. Now, he let 9/11 happen not because he wanted it to happen, but he lifted some protection from us because we started falling away. But we've not fallen away so much to where there's still no other country that has more Christians than America. So it's huge, because this key of David is not just given to anybody. It's not given to, that letter was not talking to the church in Asia Minor, because God literally says, I'm going to protect you. That they were conquered, and then they changed the name. But William Penn did name Philadelphia, America after that church in Philadelphia, Turkey. So it's like an heir. The other thing is that there is a Philadelphia corridor. It's not a town, it's a Philadelphia corridor, maybe between Jerusalem and Gaza. It's some corridor. But it was named in 2005, so not going to work. But that's how much people have wanted to deceive you. So these end time prophets, that many of them that are learning, trying to learn revelations from people that don't even recognize Jesus as the Messiah, don't you think those people would want to lead you astray? Because there should have been somebody at some point that came along and said, look, we can put this together. Because all the other 6 letters to the other churches they're kind of messing up, and God wants them to get back in shape. But their names are all like Middle East names, and then there's the Church of Philadelphia. So that's always stood out to me. I just never looked into it until the past few days. The key of David is talked about in Isaiah, and I think, excuse me, and I think there's another book, I forget, besides Revelations. I will give him the key to the house of David. These are the words of him who is the holy and true, who holds the key of David. That's what God, that's the only way, that's the only group of people that would get the key of David, would be the holy and true. And that is what the letter to the Church of Philadelphia of America is saying, is that you've been the most loyal, you haven't denied my name, you've stayed on course, and you've been patient. And ends with, well, besides ends with, understand these things through the Spirit, says that, hold fast, don't give up your crown, America. Don't give it up. So it's really important for Americans. I mean, I know atheists won't care because, they're not really bright people, in my opinion, just not. But it's really important because you're going to play a huge part in prophecy, the biggest prophecy there is. And you're not going to have to go through a trial. You're protected, as it says in that letter. Again, this was a vision that John was given, by the angel and God told him to write this down. So there's a reason people have wanted to get you to think America wasn't on Christian values. There's tons of evidence that it absolutely was. But the reason they wanted to get you to change your history was because then they were hoping to change, prophecy. Not going to happen. So please recognize that this is huge. There's be a lot of those Middle East countries that would very much like America to not be, the church that God crowns, the country. And don't let it go. Don't get into the ego part, because really be careful of that. Because we know what God doesn't like that. Key of David, opening the gates of God's eternal kingdom, come and free the prisoners of darkness. When I first read this, it reminded me how, in Donald Trump's first term, he was eradicating trafficking, he was freeing people. So I think some people say there's not an actual key. I tend to think there is, but even if there's not, there's some sort of evidence, because what it's showing is that this person, because of what the Bible said, they have the authority. And I would imagine, even if it wasn't an actual key, that maybe we'd find out, even though we know some of Trump's genealogy. Some people have said, does he go back to the line of King David? We don't actually know the genealogy, but maybe Trump does have that. But that's just speculation. Or is it, I'm sure he has some evidence. There's no way this isn't prophecy. There's absolutely no way. Because of what that letter says, and because of the fact that so many people, end-time prophets and others, and people just, that have churches that, I don't know any that have been saying this. No, America, this letter is to you. And it should be really obvious now, because that's why Trump is saying, no, we will own Gaza. It's not because he's trying to be a dictator or hurt anybody. It's part of this prophecy playing out. So there's just been a lot of people that know that church meant to Americans. They just didn't want you to know. And as you can see here, it says the connection between the two cities, Al-Ashir in Turkey and Philadelphia in the U.S., goes beyond just a shared name. In a fascinating twist of history, a 16th century map of Anatolia shows the U.S. city of Philadelphia as a tribute to the original city in Turkey. So the letter is to America. And this was a prayer of William Penn's for Philadelphia that I had read yesterday or the day before. And I'm going to do a couple videos on this, because I know that there's the bad actors out there that they're going to push even harder, the whole third temple and Trump Antichrist, and all of that is not true. So I want to keep the truth going on this one for sure.